Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Watson, the Chief Constable for Greater Manchester. I thank the Mayor for commissioning this report and Dame Vera for her efforts in drawing together a number of critically important issues. I acknowledge the shock and concern that will have been generated by the media report which gave rise to this new commission and indeed the report itself today published. I thank those who came forward to inform this review, and I acknowledge their courage in so doing. Whilst this report speaks to some deeply, deeply uncomfortable truths, it and others like it always provide valuable insights and form an important part of what it is to be an accountable leader and a public servant. The GMP that I lead is open to review and objective scrutiny and is driven by a desire to get things right for the people whom we serve. I accept the recommendations in this report and commit to making lasting improvements. The vast majority of our custody staff are highly professional and committed, despite the pressures of working in such a challenging environment. Our ability, however, to gain and retain the very fullest public confidence in the decency of our custody arrangements is crucial. We look forward to working closely with the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor to become a genuine exemplar in this area, aided by the establishment of enduring, comprehensive and independent scrutiny arrangements. The majority of the cases highlighted in this report do speak to a period when GMP were in special measures. Our custody system was clearly under pressure and struggling to perform to anything approaching an acceptable standard. It evidences poor systems, structures, and processes, compounded by a lack of routine leadership scrutiny, with clear individual examples of incivility, insensitivity, and being quite uncaring in the face of vulnerability. These issues are of the utmost importance, given the fact that vulnerable people can easily be rendered more vulnerable where we do not maintain the highest of professional standards. Such standards must, of course, reflect our duty and our moral obligation, always to respect and uphold the dignity of all detainees, but with a specific focus on women and girls whose particular confidence the force must be anxious to secure. To those given voice by this inquiry and who have not received the care and the consideration to which they are entitled, I am sorry. In September 2022, His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and the Care Quality Commission conducted a joint comprehensive custody inspection of GMP. This inspection largely coincided with the period also under scrutiny by Dame Vera's inquiry. Their report, subsequently made publicly available, was similarly highly critical of that which they discovered. The themes highlighted very substantially mirror those which feature in Dame Vera's report. Immediately following the HMIC CQC inspection, GMP gave very powerful effect to a comprehensive £3.1 million action plan designed to address those shortcomings legitimately exposed. It included new, capable senior leadership, a 62% uplift in staffing, accounting for over 140 additional personnel, an investment in technology and training. A further £7.4 million is currently being expended in refurbishing and expanding our custody estate. Our custody staff have worked hard and have embraced the need for change. And in revisiting GMP in December last year, HMIC reported very positively on progress to the extent that all of the highlighted causes of concern were downgraded to areas for improvement. The work to address the majority of those areas for improvement is now assessed as complete, and with those remaining elements of the programme being at an advanced stage of implementation. Whilst much very clearly still needs to be done, and elements of Dame Vera's report are distinct from those highlighted by HMIC, it is the case that our ability to take forward the recommendations today is immensely strengthened by the substantial progress made thus far. A number of additional practical and beneficial steps have already been taken. For example, GMP no longer uses and issues anti-tear clothing. Every female detainee has appointed to her a dedicated female welfare officer. Bespoke sealed packs, which contain feminine sanitary products, are proactively issued to all female detainees. Strip searches are more transparently recorded, tightly governed, and scrutinised. And a centralised standards and compliance team now examine between 150 and 200 random examples of detentions every month to ensure adherence to the highest standards. Insofar as our response to Dame Vera's findings and recommendations as a whole, we have today published on the Force website a comprehensive response to each of those recommendations. Notwithstanding the significance of this report's devastating findings, it is legitimate in this circumstance to describe an important element of context in GMP's contemporary journey. Just 3 years ago, as has been acknowledged, the Force was formally adjudged to be failing. GMP were then failing even to record a quarter of all crimes reported to the Force, let alone investigate them. The imperative to properly record crime and to investigate all reasonable lines of inquiry inevitably and rightly led to the rapid growth in the number of arrests seen across Greater Manchester. This in turn created great pressure across a variety of functions: custody, forensics, and criminal justice, to name but a few. It has been this dynamic which partly speaks to some of the weaknesses exposed and has driven a well-established Force recovery plan which has already resulted in myriad improvements across all facets of GMP's performance. GMP's improvements have factually outstripped that being achieved anywhere else in the country for 2 consecutive years. With a single exception, the Force is now rated as adequate or good in all things. A genuinely unprecedented turnaround. Whilst arrests have more than doubled, they are not, nor have they ever been, considered an end in themselves. Arrests are merely part of the process in obtaining better outcomes for victims of crime. Our having increased the arrest of domestic abusers by 150%, for example, has led to more offenders being brought to justice, increased confidence to report these types of offences to the police, and during the last 12 months, a 13.7% reduction in offences being committed. This in turn has led to our now sustaining a 26% reduction in homicides, which stand at the lowest level in over a decade. In short, whilst GMP has doubled its arrests, it has commensurately and significantly increased the numbers of positive outcomes for crime, and demonstrates why GMP is the only force in England and Wales to have been adjudged by HMIC to have improved our investigative standards over the past 2 years. This focus on improved investigations and the strides, both complete and well underway, to improve our complaints handling system, something of the highest priority, will complement all that is being done to improve our custody function in line with Dame Vera's recommendations. I do know that some of the questions this inquiry set out to answer have not yet been answered, and some of these relate to allegations which have caused understandable disquiet. These matters are still subject to continuing independent investigation, and GMP will continue to provide the very fullest assistance to those charged with discovering the truth. But let me be very clear. I take all cases where criminal conduct is alleged extremely serious. Any instances of criminal wrongdoing in GMP will be relentlessly pursued, and my track record in exiting people unfit to wear the uniform speaks for itself. I will conclude by repeating our fulsome acceptance of Dame Vera's recommendations and to implementing them fully and faithfully. Some of the recommendations relate to other parties: the Home Office, the Mayor's Office, the National Police Chiefs Council, and the College of Policing. We will work with others to ensure that all of the wider recommendations are fully considered, and wherever possible, we will seek out opportunities for GMP to play a leading role in their practical implementation. Thank you.